Now, for our Australian section, I don't know if you guys saw that video of Eddie with his hat. I don't have an Akubra for you, so apologies in advance to our Gibra friends, but I brought you guys some fitting attire. I know you're already wearing a cap, Nick, but right. Just add to the layering there. There we go.
One size fits most.
You worked with Eddie.
I did. Eddie's a great rugby guy. He's acerbic and difficult when he wants to be. He's joyous and triumphant and full of leadership qualities when he wants to be. And Eddie is Eddie. I've learned to not worry too much about who Eddie is, because he doesn't worry about who you are, you know. And the thing is with him, you're seeing it on a day-to-day basis. He's back in at the Wallabies. He's engineered that job off the exit from England. I mean, standing ovation. You know, everybody was like, you see, we eventually got him. He was like, no, you didn't, mate. No, you didn't. I got all of you. And so well done. You know, you got a payout here, went over there, got the best gig, you know, for him that he has wanted for ages, and got back into the role straight away. I just think that the timing has been difficult, and it'll work itself out. I think he will work his way out. I find he goes into teams. He's got a different leadership style. I do think he's probably fear and I wouldn't say fear and loathing in Las Vegas. I'd say fear and control. So he gets results very quickly, usually in most of his things, but struggles to maintain them because people run out of reasons to want to live and die for Eddie, as opposed to, I better because otherwise I'm going to get dropped. And that is, you can just look at his career, you know. However, I've seen him do amazing off the field things, turn up at clubs when he didn't have to train kids, help, you know, go into change rooms and talk to coaches and, you know, get kids excited about rugby again. I just think right at the top of the game, he just lives at 25 hours a day, more than anyone else. So you're going to see the bad bits, and someone's going to cut it and edit it and highlight it, and he's going to look grumpy and cross. And I feel sorry for that part of what we do, because it is a media merry-go-round.
But more than one thing can be true at the same time.
Of course.
As long as we retain enough space for all of those Eddies to exist, exactly. I think you'll get a full appreciation.
I think that's well said.
What was Eddie like in 07 under Jake White? And you guys had Alistair Coetzee as well in France.
Yeah, so Eddie was more a consultant. I mean, I think Jake and him had famously over the years had, you know, Eddie'd been at the Brumbies, and then, you know, they'd had sort of rivalries, if you want, you know, and had goes at each other, but then always had a barbecue afterwards and had a chat. And Jake was famously the same, you know. Jake has been a guy who's always reached out. I mean, Steve Hansen and those guys will come for a barbecue and talk rugby, because the media person is not the person that exists, like you said. So they can all exist and coexist. And I feel I'm oversharing, but like with Eddie, even at that stage, he was a consultant to Jake. He didn't try and take over. He did the little bits that he needed to do, and he pushed where he needed to push, and he sort of prodded and got more out of the players than I think Jake would have, because Jake had so much to do. You know what I mean? When you got this whole squad to run and talk to media, and Eddie could just go in and say, you know, light a fire under someone's backside who hasn't been playing well enough, and motivate another guy. So it was great. It was like having an extra coach around who had time on his hands to do the bits that hadn't been got to by the main coach. I mean, I thought it was hugely positive. It was great having him there. You know, I was in that World Cup squad, and certainly didn't ever feel that Eddie was driving any negative things. He was 100% on the journey with us. And then, you know, when we got to the World Cup final, in no way did he try and claim that as his World Cup or whatever. He was just slipped away into the shadows very quickly, and I always respected that. He certainly wasn't trying to, you know, jump in front of the camera at all.
Because people in South Africa spoke about him with. He's always been very widely respected. He was, I mean, if you rewind back to 2015, the week before Japan beat South Africa, we saw him in Brighton, and he was at that stage going to coach in Cape Town. And he still told me in an interview that his wife has said, it's time now, let's pack up our things. And he took the Cape Town job as a sort of lifestyle decision.
Yeah.
I mean, later for that, because obviously he's not nearly done yet.
Yeah, I don't, but is he ever done? I don't think I think he's one of those guys who, this is his stage. And he just wants to be on it. He wants to be in the boat. He wants to be rowing the boat. And you know, they don't really want to ever leave the rugby circus.
Talk to me about Hanson coming in.
Yeah, we're going to do a Dane Coles and go, really? Like, I don't know. It may be another Eddie Jones masterstroke. I think it may be a similar situation to where Eddie comes in only I believe for a short term, like he did for South Africa. Come in, just rugby IQ around the group. The ability to have someone like Shag to come in and just feel out players that he may have think he's not quite got yet.
How long did you have Eddie for in 07 when you won the World Cup?
I think he was there. He was there for the full duration of the tournament and probably 3 or 4 weeks beforehand. But it felt like a bit in and out. So I mean, I don't think he was like a permanent member of staff all the way through, and he certainly wasn't like the assistant coach or the whatever. He was just general consultant.
When we started talking, you said your time with England was so short before the first game, and generally your time with players is so short in international rugby. How much impact can Steve Hansen really have?
I don't think you could probably measure it. And again, it'll be whether it's a tool for Eddie or whether it's a tool for the players. It'll be up to Eddie to whether decide how Steve's being used, whether he uses him front and centre or whether he's behind the shadows and working with maybe the group. Obviously, they've had another turnover of staff just before they've left, so they're going to have a new coaching group that's going to be together. Maybe while Eddie needs to focus more on players, there's someone coming back in and helping the group behind what's going on, because Eddie does drive his group.
He does drive, and he drives him very, very hard. But in that kind of role, for Steve Hansen, it would be small margins. You know, Steve, I've got a difficult situation because if that guy gets injured, these two guys are going to both be considered. If that causes a ruction, I don't know who's going to play outside or inside of those people. Can you tell me how they would feel, the two of them, if they were dropped or not? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He can go for 2 days, have a lunch with a guy, come out and say, you know what, I've chatted to Nick, he's cool with it, he's ready to step up. Or, you know, because he's got 25 years, 30 years of rugby experience. And that's what Eddie needs. He might just need one sentence. You know, that's probably what Jake asked Eddie to be there for that time. I don't think this is like someone coming in to usurp the sort of person in the role.